And speaking about women, you find out the way the meet works for those of you who don't know. It goes men first, then women. You just got off of a high, pretty much, of winning your first men's team NCAA title for Texas and for yourself, your own resume. Now you have to like bring yourself back down and coach the women. And just from experience, there's a whole lot of head cases you have to deal with, especially this is finals day. And
Sure.
they knew, I always say we because I still feel like I'm part of the team, but they knew what they were up against. So
Sure.
how are you able to just take it back down and able to coach the women into their finals day?
Well, the worst thing I think for the women is like having a really good men's team that win is the worst thing that can happen because the women walked into the stadium before the 4x4. So they're at home following and they know that, oh my God, it's going to come down to the 4x4. So all the girls come off the bus, they rush to the track to watch the men run the 4x4 because this is an exciting fight to the finish. Now the relay is going on and all the girls are jivvy, they're yelling and screaming, and then the men win. So the girls are going crazy. But you know what? They're all the nervous energy is gone. They're running around hugging, and then it's like, wait a minute, we got to go warm up. We got to compete.
Yeah.
There was a point where we got the trophy, we celebrated with the guys, and we were grabbing the trophy, leaving. And I was telling the staff, okay, well, let's get everybody to the plane. And Kayla said, you still got to coach the women, right? It's like, oh, golly, the women meet haven't even started yet. So it's sort of finality. It's like, this is over, that we won, yay. And it's almost like, yeah, you won this part, but the second part. So all of us coaches, we were prepared to walk out of there and be done because that's what you do after you win the championship. You go home. But on this case, no, because that was just half of it. And I think for the girls, by the time they finally calmed down and realized that we got to just get ourselves back together, I think the first couple of events for us were terrible. The girl was just like emotionally drained from this celebrating and like, yeah, we won. No, the men won. Now we got to go after ours. So I think the first event suffered because they'd gone from such a high in excitement and yelling and screaming to all of a sudden I got to warm up and get ready for that. Where I think the other teams that didn't have a men's team that won, they didn't have to come to the track and watch anything. They were warming up, preparing. They were focused on what they had to do. Where our women were focused on our men and had to kind of pull themselves back. So I think it hurt us. And for sure in the 60, it was clear that we didn't perform like we did. And I think that just the girls just couldn't get themselves back together. It didn't go until after like the 400 where they had enough time to sort of exhale, get themselves together and run well. And I think the 60-meter girls suffered from just the high level of excitement that the men had and bringing themselves back down, business, and they were just not business. They were just emotionally like still locked into the guys. Even I, Zeb and Pete, we were all thinking, yeah, we had to go to the plane. And it's like, no, we got to go to work. And it took a little bit to sort of get myself together. Achilles warming up, try to get the triple jumpers together. You're still on that, yay, celebrating. It's like, no celebrate, just get focused on business. So yeah, I think it hurt the women that the men were so good and did so well, where the other teams that actually did well didn't have a men's team in the hunt. So they didn't have to come watch the end of the men's meet. And if I was the women's coach, I would tell them, we don't need to go out there and watch these people compete. Let's focus on our stuff. But it's hard to tell women that are hanging out with men that are their brothers and sisters not to go celebrate with them.
Yeah, definitely. Like 30 minutes later, you were at the jump pit with Achille and Darja. It was that quick. I'm still on a high from the men's, winning their first national championship to they are already on the runway. Florida just popped two girls that was so good from the jump. And, we're still thinking about the win that just happened. So, and you mentioned the women's 60, Julian. Juju, did you, and I know we can say stuff like this, did you tell her to go in and break the collegiate record in prelims? Because you have such talented girls, you can literally say, this is what we're going to do this meet, and that is exactly what happens.
No, she just, and the thing is, this was not her best race. And I think that was probably the part that scared her the most is that she just ran to win her heat to make it to the final, which is what the goal was. Win your heat, make it to the finals, and then we'll come back to tomorrow. And then we never even talked about the record. I thought, and we talked about it a month before that, I thought she could break 7. And based on her workout, it was clear that she could. And I think in hindsight, it'd have been better for her to run 7:12 and barely make it didn't run
Yeah.
704 because that impacted her. Like even 706, like barely missed a collegiate record. So you're hungry for more. But once you do that, so fear and anxiety, like, oh my God, people expecting this and that from me. So it was a tough turnaround, but she didn't attempt to break anything. She didn't even lean to the table hard. It was like, I just got to win my heat. So then in her mind, it's like, wait a minute, that was a pretty good race, but I can run a lot faster. And then you start thinking 6'9", and you start putting that pressure on yourself as opposed to focusing on the task, which is, I just got to come across the finish line first and get 10 points for my team. Everything sort of changed. So I think that impacted her. Nobody's ever really done that before, breaking the collegiate record on the prelim. So you're expecting some crazy thing in the final, and that expectation, I think, hurt her because it's like everybody was expecting, oh, she's about to, and it's like, uh-oh.
Absolutely.
So I think
expectation can be the killer.
Oh, absolutely. Expectation was definitely a killer because she knew what she could do based on that race. So all she kept saying is, that wasn't even my best race. So it's almost like, what can I go in there? It's like, well, you just lost sight of the championship because the whole point of being here is to get 10 points. It's not about breaking records. If you do great, but that's not the intent of a championship. It's just to score points and win a championship.
Yeah, definitely. I like that you talked about expectation because just going into this year, I was not expecting the men to outrank the women. It's always like the University of Texas track and field team at the women's team, and the women's legacy that Texas has had to uphold has always been there. But the men have had, those gems like Marquise Goodman, Ryan Krauser, just those gems. And then for them to basically break the mold, do something that was completely unexpected. That's why I keep saying the wild card in the DMR, completely unexpected. And then the women to do exactly what we're used to them doing. You just got to do it again. And you just have to show up and do it again, especially the pressure in the 60. The old collegiate record holder, Kimba Nelson, didn't even make it to the finals. So definitely all eyes were on Julian. So I was nervous. I was definitely nervous, but the fact that they still came in second is a big accomplishment, honestly.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think when you have your not best meet and get second, it just tells you how much talent and potential you have. And I think that's really what we took from this, is that just imagine if everything had gone right, what we could come up with. So that's what we're going on to the outdoor with, is hope that, man, we are much better than we think. Now, had we gotten 7 or 8, it'd be different. But when you have a not so good meet, like not so perfect meet, and still get second, it just lets you know that, wait a minute, this is not coach talking smack. This is a reality of how good we are and how good we can be. So I think going into outdoors, this week, it was clear that there's a clear purpose to training now, where it's like, oh yeah, like this is not some type of fantasy that coach is throwing at us. This is actually, we lived it, we saw it, we look at what the points are, and we're not like, it's not blowing smoke. It's like, Tyra is a 22-foot long jumper. So that this is a real possibility. Know that Christine was ranked number 2. She scored 44 and 4,300 points every time. So that this is a real possibility. She went 4,100. This is a worst meet of the year. So you're saying this is a real possibility. You look at Julian running 704. It's a real possibility that she can actually do this. So it's not like coach says she can run 704. She actually physically did it. Rashida running 717 at 6'1" on the 60. You're saying the best part of your race is the last 40. So you're saying this is also a real possibility.
Right.
Yeah, you know what Kennedy Final is capable of doing. You know what Rashida capable of doing in the 200. You know what Corona, everybody knows what they're capable of doing clearly. So then it's almost like, hey, these are real numbers that we've accomplished before. We just have to basically accomplish. We don't have to do, it's not like we have to PR by half a second to win. It's like, we just have to do what we've already done. And it's just a matter of putting it together and doing that, so that's what I'm looking at. And then you add 400-meter hurdles, you add all kind of events that we couldn't do indoor. I mean, you look at Brooke Jaworski picking up an event just to qualify. So it's not like I'm a half mile. It's like, no, I'm going to try this event so I can score some points. Or you look at Val Tobias, is like, never making it to end season, getting fifth. So all this stuff, you put it together, it's clear that there's sort of an awakening that needs to happen in our women's team to realize your potential, or our potential as a group.
Yeah. And it's definitely something that I didn't realize until I was done. And, I will always call Ricky, because I'm not about to bother you, coach, but I would call Ricky like back in January. I said, do the girls know what the numbers are looking like? Do they like, are you able to grasp it? Because when you're in it, you just can't see it. It's really hard to explain just being an athlete.
Sure.
It's hard to see what's put in front of you.
Sure.
Like, you are the team that's supposed to do it. And that's what we discussed in their press conference, was just capabilities. Texas has always had the capabilities, won many national individual titles. We've had Courtney Color in the 400, Chrisanne Gordon in the 400. We've had the gyms, but just pulling it together as a team was just something that would not stick. So then that's what I really wanted to discuss with you. You were hired in 2018 from Kentucky, such a powerful university over there too. We have Jasmine Camacho Quinn, Kenny Harrison, all of the best. Sydney McLaughlin, honestly. So coming in, you knew that there was a team rebuilding you had to do. So I really want to know how you went about it, because you know that you're coming to a team with fantastic, like on paper, fantastic. But in terms of winning or as a team title, even getting second, it was not happening. Kentucky got second before we did. So tell me how you went about it.
Sure, but I think the difficult part is like you have a vision of what the team can do, but everybody else that's part of the team, they don't, it's like, this is just some dream. It's like, that hasn't happened before. So same thing at Kentucky, is like getting there, and the team was, I think they were 65th when I took the job and had nobody qualify for the NC, and the men were like 70 or whatever. So all of a sudden you go, and they were dead last at the SEC. So you're taking a job with the worst team in the SEC. It's like rebuilding it. So first you got to get people to buy in. It's like, this is what we try to get done. And it's difficult for somebody to buy in because, Coach, I've been here. We have gotten 56 last year. And here you come telling us we're going to win. It's like, get out of here. So because the person resolved themselves and being a loser and not winning, it's hard to convince them that they can reform and be a winner. So when somebody get used to not doing their best, that's what they become, and that's what they think that they are. And convincing them that they can go back to their former self and win and be a champion and run these times is a difficult process. So as people start to embrace that and people start to run fast, it's still not a team yet. It's just a bunch of individuals doing well. Eventually, once all these individuals become a collective bunch that are going after the same goal, that's really kind of when you have a championship team. I think for us, it was the catalyst of the winning the Big 12 year one was step one. And I think the women feels like we should win Big 12 every year. I think there's a level of confidence that come in, we're going to win Big 12. I don't think any woman on that team thinks that we potentially could lose. And they know if we are losing, we can turn it around and win. So there's a level of assurance that we can do this. We have confidence in this. And the men didn't have it. And the men developed it where they finally won Big 12. But once they won, it was like, that felt good. We want to keep feeling that. And that's what you saw this past indoor. It was just a resilience. We were not supposed to win. Texas Tech had the better team by far. But by the time the meet got going, the guys just refused to lose. It wasn't a matter of we were superior, this, superior, that. They had the superior team. Our men was like, we're not losing. We just won't lose. And so ideally, once you become a winner, you just refuse to lose. And you have enough wherewithal to say, nah, not today, brother. I'm not going to let it happen. Like a boxer that gets knocked down and you count to 9 and they get up. I watched a fight between, I was watching that the other day, Floyd Mayweather against, he almost got me. He hit Floyd so hard that his knees buckled. And I thought, man, this is over. This is it. First, Floyd's going to take an L. And he got himself together, and it was a beat done after that. And I'm just saying, it's like, once you've won 48 times in a row, it's really hard to convince you to lose because you see yourself as a winner. Even on the ground, laying on the ground, you still are making a plan to get up and knock the other guy out. So for us on the conference side, there's an assurance, there's a comfort level that we can do this. Now, there hadn't been that same comfort level at NCs. We've had, even when you're on the team, we had a really good team, but there was a lot of negativity as far as self-confidence. Can we really win? Self-sabotage, we would get to the meet and find a way to do bad because we've done bad before. Why not do bad again? Because that's what we used to. So sometimes, even though you're supposed to do well, you find a way to mess it up because you don't know any better. And you just keep in that spiral of doing bad. And eventually you got to just getting out of that spiral and do well has been difficult. But I think even the women getting second, it opened their eyes to be like, oh, okay. that was it. Yeah, that's the worst that can happen. So I think for them, it's like, oh, it's going to be on outdoor. So I'm looking forward to seeing how the personalities change, how the competition change. There's already some rumors and talk about the girls want to do this, want to do that, want to try to break this school record, that school record. And that's all positive because that comes from inside and goes outside. That wasn't there before. But I think this NCAA runner up and then watching the men, and I think the men watched the women to win conference so much that they were like, we want some of that. And now it's sort of vice versa. Now the women are like, oh yeah, we belong up there with you. So it's going to be interesting to see how we, and I say we a lot because we as a group have to sort of buy into the same goal. And I don't think it's always been that. And I think it's getting closer to that. That you know, when I was at Kentucky, it was the same thing. Everyone on the team, whether we had differences or not, when they got to the meet, it was about, you know, us against the world. I remember watching Don still had a shirt, South Carolina against the world. And it was like, that is a perfect shirt because when you're competing for a national championship, it's really Texas against the world. You don't really have any friends. You know, you might have friends at other school, but during that time, they ain't your friend because it's, if you're not wearing the burnt orange, you're on that gang. This is our stuff. This is what we do. And now I believe the men have embraced that. You can clearly see it. And I think the women are beginning to embrace the fact that, you know, it's us against the world, and we're going to go out here and take care of business.
Absolutely. And just to wrap up, the viewers have just been nagging at me about some of the personality training styles of some of the athletes on the team. So I'm going to say one of their names, and you're just going to tell me something memorable about coaching them or just explain their coaching style, you know, because I can only give it to a certain extent. Mm-hmm. So first off, Jay Jones.
Jay Jones, I would say confidence, lightning in a bottle, and bright future.
Okay. Kennedy Simon.
I would say lover of Christ, very hard worker. Her worst enemy is her.
Yeah, I was gonna hard-headed.
Yes, that's just her worst enemy.
All right, Juju.
The Phoenix, sort of rebirth from great success young, lost her way and regained her way. So kind of the Phoenix. She's starting to embrace her true self. Can be hard on herself.
Okay. KB.
Unbelievable talent. Carries too much of a load alone, carries the load alone. Mama.
Rashida.
Have no idea how good she is. Range beyond belief. And very loyal friend.
She's very mysterious. Miss Bambi. Rashida is like Miss Bambi. I like that you said you have, okay, that was interesting. Definitely shocked me. Definitely shocked me. Okay. And any recruiting updates at all before we go?
Well, we just signed a big one, transfer from USC. So excited about that. Got a couple more we're on the hunt for. You know, ideally, I think because of what we do and what we've been doing, I think Texas is probably going to be transfer you because, you know, let's be honest, Texas is really sexy. But nothing is sexier than winning. So if you're not winning, the sexiness goes away. And I think we've lost that sexiness a little bit. But I think the women, the way we're competing, the men, the way we're competing, that it makes it a very desirable place for people to come and be part of. And you look around the resources, the swag, the horns, it's all so cool and sexy that I think athletes are going to want to be here. And I think we lost these top recruits because we were just not winning. You know, it's like, we're just not winning. We were just, people want to be part of the winners, you know, and very few people are like Sydney McLaughlin. Sydney McLaughlin could visualize being successful. And she wanted to basically told me she just wanted to hire the very best coach. So a sexy place didn't really appeal because it was not going to basically further her goals for herself. So she's very pragmatic in her thinking in that, you know, when she chose Kentucky, it's like, what the hell are you doing? Why would you go there? You know, and a year later, it's like, oh, okay, now we see it. But you know, she's very intelligent in selecting the best coach to help her. It wasn't really about the environment. It was just about I want a person that can have a vision of getting me from A to B.
Okay. Well, this is exciting, Coach Flo. Thank you.
You're certainly welcome.
All right. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.